The restaurant was quiet, its warm lighting casting a golden glow over the small table where Lila and Evan sat. It was their favorite spot, tucked away in a corner with just enough privacy to feel like the rest of the world didn't exist. Evan was mid-sentence, recounting a funny story about his coworker, when Lila's phone buzzed. "Sorry," she said, picking it up. She glanced at the screen, and her breath caught. Her eyes darted back and forth as she read the email, her fingers tightening around the phone. "What is it?" Evan asked, his tone shifting immediately to concern. I got it," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Got what?" "The job," she said, looking up at him. "The one in the city." Evan's face broke into a smile. "Lila, that's amazing!" He reached across the table to grab her hand. "I knew you could do it." Her excitement faltered as reality sank in. "But it's so far. If I take it, I'd have to move in a few weeks." Evan's smile softened, but his grip on her hand didn't waver. "You have to take it. This is your dream job, Lila. You've been talking about this for years." "But what about us?" she asked, her voice trembling. "What if the distance is too much?" Evan leaned forward, his expression steady and reassuring. "We'll figure it out. You're worth it, Lila. And if this is what you need to do, then I'm behind you all the way." Tears pricked her eyes as she nodded. "I don't deserve you," she whispered. "Don't be ridiculous," he said with a grin. "You deserve everything. Let me know if you'd like to expand or adjust this further." The transition to city life was both exhilarating and overwhelming for Lila. The bustling streets, towering skyscrapers, and endless opportunities made her feel alive in a way she hadn't experienced before. But with that excitement came the inevitable loneliness of being far from home and from Evan. They adapted as best as they could. Evan was diligent about their nightly video calls, even if they sometimes lasted only a few minutes because of their schedules. On weekends, they'd watch movies together over a streaming app, syncing their screens and texting reactions. They even started a shared playlist, adding songs that reminded them of each other. One night, during a particularly long call, Evan showed her a drawing he'd been working on, a sketch of her from memory. "It's not great," he said sheepishly, holding it up to the camera. Lila's breath hitched. "Evan, that's beautiful. I didn't even know you could draw." "I can't," he said with a laugh. "But I missed your face, so I thought I'd try." Moments like that kept her going. But the cracks in their relationship still showed. There were days when her texts went unanswered for hours because he was busy, and nights when she fell asleep before their scheduled call. The distance made her feel untethered at times, like they were slowly drifting apart despite their best efforts. Their first anniversary apart loomed on the horizon, and Lila wanted it to be special. "Hey, I was thinking, would you write me a letter?" she asked during one of their calls. Evan raised an eyebrow. "A letter? Yeah. You're such a great writer, and it'd be nice to have something tangible, something I can read whenever I miss you." A small smile spread across his face. "You've got it. One heartfelt letter coming your way. Let me know if you'd like to refine or expand this section further." Lila and Evan's story began years earlier, during their sophomore year of college. They had met in a creative writing class, where the professor encouraged open collaboration and paired students for group assignments. Evan, with his dry humor and penchant for procrastination, was partnered with Lila, whose organized nature and sharp eye for detail made her a natural leader in any group setting. At first, their dynamic was anything but smooth. Evan's laid-back approach clashed with Lila's meticulous planning. During their first meeting, he showed up 20 minutes late, coffee in hand, and an unapologetic smile on his face. Lila, who had already outlined their entire project, raised an eyebrow. "Nice of you to join me," she said, her tone dripping with sarcasm. "Traffic," he replied breezily. "And by traffic, I mean the line at the coffee shop." Despite the rocky start, they quickly found a rhythm. Evan's creativity brought unexpected depth to their assignments, while Lila's structure ensured they met deadlines. Late-night brainstorming sessions in the campus library turned into long conversations about their favorite books, their families, and their dreams for the future. Lila learned that Evan had a knack for storytelling, spinning tales that left her laughing or unexpectedly moved. Evan discovered that beneath Lila's serious exterior was a playful, curious soul who loved cheesy romance novels and couldn't resist ordering dessert at every meal. By the end of the semester, their partnership had grown into a friendship, and before long, something more. Their first official date was at a small Italian restaurant near campus. Evan had insisted on paying, only to realize too late that he'd forgotten his wallet. Lila covered the bill, teasing him mercilessly about it for weeks, and Evan spent the rest of the semester finding small ways to make it up to her. A handwritten poem left in her notebook, a cup of her favorite chai tea waiting for her before class, and once, a mixtape he'd curated just for her. Their relationship flourished over the years, marked by shared adventures and quiet moments. They balanced each other in ways neither had anticipated. Evan helped Lila embrace spontaneity, while Lila grounded Evan, encouraging him to channel his creativity into tangible goals. They often joked that they were each other's greatest project, constantly learning, growing, and pushing each other to be better. The transition to city life was both exhilarating and overwhelming for Lila. The bustling streets, towering skyscrapers, and endless opportunities made her feel alive in a way she hadn't experienced before. But with that excitement came the inevitable loneliness of being far from home and from Evan. They adapted as best as they could. Evan was diligent about their nightly video calls, even if they sometimes lasted only a few minutes because of their schedules. On weekends, they'd watch movies together over a streaming app, syncing their screens and texting reactions. They even started a shared playlist, adding songs that reminded them of each other. One night, during a particularly long call, Evan showed her a drawing he had been working on, a sketch of her from memory. "It's not great," he said sheepishly, holding it up to the camera. Lila's breath hitched. "Evan, that's beautiful. I didn't even know you could draw." "I can't," he said with a laugh. "But I missed your face, so I thought I'd try." Moments like that kept her going. But the cracks in their relationship still showed. There were days when her texts went unanswered for hours because he was busy, and nights when she fell asleep before their scheduled call. The distance made her feel untethered at times, like they were slowly drifting apart despite their best efforts. Their first anniversary apart loomed on the horizon, and Lila wanted it to be special. "Hey, I was thinking, would you write me a letter?" she asked during one of their calls. Evan raised an eyebrow. "A letter? Yeah, you're such a great writer, and it'd be nice to have something tangible, something I can read whenever I miss you." A small smile spread across his face. "You've got it. One heartfelt letter coming your way." As the days passed, Lila found herself eagerly checking her mailbox, anticipating the letter. Each day brought a small thrill of excitement as she sorted through bills and flyers, but by the time their anniversary came and went, the letter still hadn't arrived. She tried not to let it bother her. Evan was thoughtful in so many other ways: the surprise care packages, the late-night calls, the songs he sent her. Maybe he had forgotten, or maybe he decided it wasn't worth sending. Either way, she didn't want to bring it up and make him feel bad. But deep down, the absence of the letter stung. She had imagined curling up with it on lonely nights, letting his words fill the space he couldn't physically occupy. Instead, she was left wondering why he hadn't followed through. Weeks turned into months. Lila and Evan's conversations grew shorter and less frequent. The initial effort they had poured into keeping the relationship alive began to dwindle under the weight of their respective lives. Lila immersed herself in work, attending late meetings and weekend events, while Evan threw himself into a new hobby, woodworking. They still cared for each other, but the distance now felt more emotional than physical. The letter became a silent wedge between them. Lila couldn't shake the thought that Evan had forgotten something so important to her, and Evan assumed that Lila's silence on the matter meant indifference. Neither wanted to bring it up, and the unspoken hurt lingered. By the third month, their calls were sporadic at best. A part of Lila wanted to ask him outright, "Why didn't you send the letter?" But another part of her was afraid of the answer. What if it revealed something she wasn't ready to face? 3 months after their anniversary, Lila was at her sister Megan's house, babysitting her niece Ella. The 2-year-old was a whirlwind of energy, bouncing from one toy to the next while Lila tried to keep up. By mid-afternoon, Ella was at the kitchen table, engrossed in her latest masterpiece. "Auntie Lila, look!" Ella called, holding up a crayon triumphantly. The paper in front of her was covered in colorful scribbles. "That's beautiful, Ella," Lila said, walking over. She bent down to examine the drawing, but something about the paper caught her eye. It wasn't regular notebook paper or a coloring book page. It was thick, cream-colored, with a faint border. Her heart skipped. She gently took the paper from Ella's hands. Beneath the crayon marks, she saw familiar handwriting. "Dear Lila," her breath hitched. It was Evan's handwriting. "Where did you get this?" she asked, her voice trembling. Ella pointed to a stack of mail sitting on the counter. "In there." Lila's mind raced as she carefully unfolded the paper. The letter was short but beautiful, every word brimming with Evan's usual thoughtfulness. "I miss you more than I can put into words, but I'll try anyway. This year has been hard without you here, but I'm so proud of everything you're doing. You're chasing your dreams, and that's one of the things I love most about you. Happy anniversary, Lila. Here's to us, no matter the distance." Tears welled in her eyes as she read. He had sent it. He hadn't forgotten. She felt a pang of guilt for ever doubting him. That evening, after much deliberation, Lila picked up her phone and dialed Evan's number. Her heart pounded as the line rang. "Hey," he said, his voice warm but slightly hesitant. "It's been a while." "Yeah," Lila said softly. "It has." She paused, struggling to find the right words. "So, funny story, I found your letter." There was a pause on his end. "My letter?" "The anniversary one. The one you sent months ago. You got it?" His confusion was evident. "Not exactly. Ella was using it as scratch paper. I'm sorry. I thought you forgot, and I didn't want to make it a big deal, but—" Evan let out a soft laugh, the tension in his voice easing. "So that's what happened to it. I thought you didn't like it or something." "What? Why would you think that?" "I don't know. I figured if you got it and didn't say anything, maybe it wasn't what you wanted." Lila's chest tightened. "Evan, it was perfect. I'm so sorry you thought that." "It's okay," he said gently. "Toddlers, huh?" She laughed, the sound breaking through the lingering awkwardness. "Yeah, toddlers." Their conversation flowed more easily after that, the months of silence slowly giving way to familiar comfort. They talked about everything and nothing, like they used to, and by the time they hung up, they had made plans to start writing letters to each other regularly, and to follow up when things got lost in the mail. As Lila sat on her couch, the letter resting on the table in front of her, she smiled. The past months had tested their relationship in ways she hadn't anticipated, but moments like this reminded her why it was worth it. No matter the distance, they always found their way back to each other. Thank you so much for listening to this story. If you enjoyed it and want to hear more heartfelt and engaging tales, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. We'd also love to hear your thoughts on this story in the comments below. Your support means the world to us. See you in the next story.